Welcome to the True Strength Podcast with your hosts, Jeremiah and Tiffany Head.
Welcome back to the True Strength Podcast. We are excited to be back again with you this week. I'm excited because this is the first time I got to say welcome back, and that feels like a really big deal to me. We are just ready to jump into some new things. One of the things, this is something that I feel like we've been hinting at and talking about ever since we started the podcast. One of the things that you will have heard us say like a ton of times in all of the episodes is that when we reopened this gym, we felt like God was calling us to open the gym again, but to do it differently. And we've said it so many times about so many different things. We're trying to do things differently. We've been learning how to do things differently. And as we have been getting to talk to more and more people, and if you've listened for a while, you know that we got back from the CrossFit Games just a few weeks ago. It's been like 2 weeks now since we've been back home. And as we've gotten to be outside of our gym and interacting with more people that have talked to us about our podcast and what we're doing, and they had questions about our gym. And the thing that people want to know is, what does it mean when you say you're doing things differently? What in the world does that mean? So today we are going to just talk about one of the biggest things that it was one of the first things that we decided when it came time to thinking through what would it look like if we did something different. This was one of the first things that we felt like was the big thing that was going to make a big difference. And so we're going to talk about that. And but to get started, like as we talk to people, I think that because of this podcast and because of the way that we talk about our faith so openly and we lead people at church and we do different things with our faith, which is of course a huge part of who we are. I think that when we say we're doing things differently in our gym, most people seem to assume that what we are doing is we are doing a Christian CrossFit, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but honestly, that's not what we're doing. I think that people have said things like, well, do you guys preach? Do you read Bible verses? Do you have Bible verses on your walls? And it makes sense why you would think that based on the way we talk in this podcast. But that is just not at all what we're doing. Do you want to talk about that? We definitely feel like God called us back into this.
I think initially we thought that is what we were going to do. You know, like I think when we first, you know, we've heard, I talked about like, you know, when I thought God had said, hey, you're going to do it differently, I just immediately assumed like, oh, we're going to do more, this is going to be like a ministry probably, right? And so we looked into that. I feel like we kind of we've talked about that before, we went down that path of like different ministries in the CrossFit. And we even kind of practiced it. We ran a couple, what I would call like Christian CrossFit classes in our backyard a little bit, where there was like a devotion and there was like a Bible verse and so we tinkered with it. And I think what happened is somewhere along that road, God was, you know, literally like, are you like, you really think this is what you're supposed to do, right? As if I probably like, the call isn't to just like do CrossFit for Christians. It's to hit everyone. It's to reach everyone. And so we quickly realized like, actually, no, we're just going to do regular CrossFit, but just differently, right? We need to reach the masses. Our goal is to get everyone in these doors, and we just want to present the kingdom to them. Like, what does the kingdom of God feel like in a real world, in a CrossFit?
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like Bible verses and preaching, right? Because that's not really what it is. So we tinkered with it, but in the end, we found out that's not going to help us fulfill our mission.
Right. And we'll get like more to what our mission is and like what as we started to work into, okay, well then what would our new CrossFit gym look like? We began to understand, and it's something that we learned in our old gym. We'll talk about like our old gym and our new gym. Yeah. And it's literally almost like an old way of life and a new way of life. Is kind of like, it's almost like this is a second chance at life. And one of the biggest things that we learned in the old gym and with the closing of the old gym, and if you've heard both of our testimonies, and there were amazing things about the old gym. We loved what we did there. Yeah. But there were some really hard lessons that we learned the hard way. And one of the biggest things is we learned the hard way how important it is to cultivate the type of of culture that you want to have active and growing inside of your gym and in your community. And so let's talk about culture and what we learned about culture. And like, so what is the difference between, like, what is a culture? Let's start there.
Yeah. Well, I think, so there's a community and there's a culture.
Right.
Right. And these are just like sociological words. These aren't like, are we made of these words? These are just like how it works. So a community is any place where people are experiencing basically the same thing, right? A group of people in the same place experiencing the same thing.
Right. So you can have community in a lot of different places.
A lot of places, yes.
CrossFit is known for its community atmosphere.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of the things that makes CrossFit amazing and special is that it brings like-minded people together who like to do these crazy workouts that we like to do. We all, for some reason, think that they're enjoyable and fun, and it builds community. Yeah. It builds that togetherness, that time spent together. Yeah. But we have community anywhere
that you're together with a group of people,
right? Like one of the things that our Redlands, the city of Redlands community does, we have like this big outdoor like theater thing, and our community of Redlands gets together in the summertime every week, and we watch musicals and orchestras and symphonies and all those things. It's a gathering place of people, and that's a super important thing. We love community. One of the things that you will hear almost every CrossFitter ever talk about is the value of a strong community, of having that place that gathers people together. So community is huge. Yeah. We have a community here, but community can come and go. Like community is not something that we control very, very tightly. We can't control who comes in the doors. We can't control when people leave. Sometimes people will be part of our community for years and years and years. Sometimes they'll be here for a month. Sometimes they'll just come for the 1 week free trial and then we never see them again. So community has a little bit of flow to it, a little bit of flux to it. We don't tightly control our community, but what we found, to be the most important thing to focus on, like we make this a place that invites people and we have community that's very valuable. And we are very appreciative of that, very thankful of that. But the thing that is the most important piece of our CrossFit gym is our culture. Yeah. So what is a culture? What's different about that?
So culture is more of the belief system inside that community. It's now we are all together, but we are growing. Our culture is this shared identity, these shared core values, shared beliefs, right? These are the things that our community believes and shows and exemplifies, and we live inside of our culture. This is our culture. And so the culture is way more powerful, right? It actually is. It becomes a core part of who you might be. And you could have different cultures in different places, obviously. And, so our culture, is this shared belief system. I think this is the most simple way to put it. It's our shared beliefs. Yeah.
Yeah, and a culture is going to grow whether you're intentional about it or not.
Yes.
And that's what we learned the hard way.
Yes.
We learned that if you do not stay intentional, if we as the gym owners and the leaders of the culture, if we did not stay with our hands connected and always trying to make sure that we are cultivating the things that we wanted to grow and cutting out the things that we did not want to have growing. It's literally like in scripture, Jesus is always talking about things that are growing and gardens that are growing and how important it is to get rid of weeds and to make sure that only the things that you want to have growing are able to grow. And when you see things starting to sprout up that are negative or that are things that you just don't want to have as part of your garden or part of your culture, how important it is. That the lesson that we learned is that it is so important to quickly weed out things that have the potential to take over your garden, to take over your culture. And things began to grow in our old gym that we never intended to grow, but we also did not do a good job of cultivating the atmosphere or the language or the things that were spoken, the things that were done, the things where focus was put. We did not stay actively connected and as intentional as we needed to in order for things to grow. Like things were allowed to grow that became very negative and a very big problem.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. I think, and the biggest thing is obviously primarily it was my fault, and also like the thing is what we've learned and we watched is I actually started with the culture really that I knew, and I've talked about this before, and it was a culture that now I would never implement again. Also,
you wouldn't replicate it again.
I would never implement even the starting culture, because even then it was it was in the wrong worldview that we've talked about. We'll talk about more today. But then so when that culture done in like again completely just what I thought was supposed to be the normal culture of what I believed sports and competition, all the things would be. But then as it went along, and then we even became less involved and pulled ourselves out, that grew even more intense and even more wild. And then there was just, almost, I would say there was almost multiple cultures in our last gym. There was,
I think that's true.
Even inside of the culture, it got like, there was like a
subculture,
9 a.m. culture and a 5 a.m. culture and an afternoon culture.
And the reason for that is because those classes had different leadership. Yeah. Each different coach brings with them their own viewpoints and their own attitude and their own way of speaking and their own culture. So I think that's absolutely true.
Yeah. And it wasn't necessarily it was bad.
Right.
It was just not, it just led to, like you said, it just led to like things the growing. Whole culture, things growing that we now, would try really hard. We wouldn't.
We are trying very hard.
We are trying. We wouldn't not allowed to grow. And now it's different. Like we plant differently. We've planted differently, right? So we don't even have to weed things out as much anymore because we've planted differently and we've planned differently, so that now we can try and keep our culture healthy the whole time and don't have to pull as many weeds. Yeah.
And so with that in mind, thinking about when we decided to do a gym a different way, and we really thought hard and we really prayed about it, and we really put a lot of intention behind what we wanted to do when we opened the gym. So because cultivating the type of culture that we wanted to see in our gym was such an important part that we felt like to lay the foundation for the new gym. The thing that we most notably have done differently this time is we have decided that in this gym at Parakaleo CrossFit, we do not have a leaderboard. Yep. And that is wildly countercultural in the CrossFit space. But just, it's pretty countercultural in any kind of athletic or sports arena. This idea that we would not have a leaderboard in our gym. It was one of the, it's one of the foundational things. And the thing that we wanted to talk today about is that is such a unique thing. We are not the only people that don't have leaderboards by any means. We're not like revolutionary in that way. There are other CrossFit gyms, there are other coaches, there's other programs that also agree that leaderboards are not necessarily
for them.
Yes. And so we want to start out by making sure that we're making it super clear. Like, we are not in any way saying that leaderboards are good or bad. We don't think that a leaderboard leads to negative culture. We've absolutely seen gyms and communities where there is amazing culture and leaderboards. Yeah. So we're not saying that this is the right way to do it, or we believe that everybody should get rid of leaderboards. But we wanted to talk about why we made that choice, why that decision was something that was so important to us. And for us, when we thought about what are the things that we are going to value in this gym, what are our values going to be, what do we want our culture to be, what do we want the identity of our gym to be, and we wanted everything in this gym, everything in this place to be based on the idea that your value and your identity do not come from what you produce, which we will explain a little bit more throughout this podcast. But when we wrote out like our mission statement or what we wanted to accomplish in the new gym, we said that our mission is to show people that even though everything in our society tells them one thing, everything at your job, everything at your school, everything in your workplace, everything on social media, everything in the world will tell you that you are valuable because of what you accomplish. That is what the world wants to speak over people 24 hours a day, from the time you're born till the time you die,
Yeah.
the world says your value comes from what you produce, from what you accomplish, from what you have, from all of those things. And we wanted our mission to say that is absolutely not true.
Not true.
In fact, we truly, like, our heart and our mission is to show people and to teach people and to help people to realize that they have intrinsic value from their creator.
Yeah.
That there is nothing you could do, nothing you could accomplish, nothing you could fail at or succeed at that could ever change the intrinsic value that you have, because you have been created with a purpose, with a calling, and for as a gift to the world.
Yeah. 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 And again, we've talked about identity before. So if not, go back and listen to those podcasts. But yeah, 100%. That is what our mission is to just reinforce this concept that, yeah, there's nothing that you can do, especially inside a CrossFit gym, that really gives you any value or identity, especially, just like, so we knew moving forward that, that was our main goal. So everything that we did has to be in alignment with that.
Right.
Everything.
And so for us, because of what we experienced in our old gym and what we saw, the fruit of having a leaderboard and the culture that it created and the things that grew, because of what we saw people doing in an effort to rank a certain way on the leaderboard, because that was such a huge thing that negatively affected our culture before, that is the reason why we made such a different decision to approach the new gym without a leaderboard.
Yeah.
And that's the reason. And so, because just basically for us, the leaderboard does not help us to grow our mission or to grow our message. Like it's not a helpful thing. In fact, we felt like it was going to be a thing to overcome, and we wanted there to be a very, very different message inside the walls of our new gym.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. So in order to make that make sense, I think that we should start out by sharing what it is that we saw the leaderboard doing in the old gym. Because from the outside, or maybe I think a lot of people would say, like, it's just a score for your workout. Like, how could it be such a big deal that you are going to make this whole entire podcast about why you don't have it? Or like that it would be such a big deal that you would think this deeply about a leaderboard, because it's just your score at the end of a workout. Yeah. So let's talk about what we actually saw and experienced in the old gyms so that we can help understand why we're doing it different.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you're right. I think that it does sound silly at first to be like, why would you just, it's pretty, basic. You're just writing down stuff on a whiteboard. You're just saying, hey, how fast you did your workout today. I think what we saw, and again, taking full responsibility is, day one of our gym, we had a giant whiteboard with scores all over it, right? We recorded everything. Yeah. We had how much you could back squat, deadlift, press, snatch, clean and jerk. We had everything recorded for the whole year sometimes. It was that in your face, right? Yeah. Which is very common, even in a high school football gym or a gym. You will see the records that have lasted decades. Right. You will see leaderboards. It's how I grew up. It's just what you look at, right? And again, we're not saying those are good or bad, because those do exist, and world records are awesome.
And they're amazing.
They're amazing feats of things. And so it's not that they're bad, and it's very common. And I did it. I put it into effect, and I implemented it, and I was a part of it, right? My name was up there.
I was too, yeah. I enjoyed my leaderboard. I thought it was. Yeah. I like to watch my score get better, and my lifts get heavier, and all those things. Yeah.
So what started out as just common, we saw, and again, in the middle of it, we didn't really have words. We didn't really know what to say and to explain what we were seeing, really.
Right.
But we saw what it was starting to do, right? And just right off the bat, what starts to happen is, and I think we're going to talk a lot about this, is we started to realize, and what we know now is that the leaderboard started to give identity to people in our gym. It starts to, the way that we say it is, it's sometimes we talk about, you get a false identity, or it doesn't give you identity. Like you said, people are like, what does that even mean? Right. Right.
What does it mean that how could a leaderboard give you identity?
Yeah. And it actually, and so what it does is we could say that it starts to name you. It's if you are willing to receive the information, right, it starts to name you. And so people started, because of this, and we're going to dive in deeper later, we started to see these actions that were taking place because it was starting to give people identity.
Right. So what we would see in a gym, like let's say normally we were never around for 5 a.m. class because I don't know who gets up at 5 a.m.
I did for a while, a little bit, until I was so tired I couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah. So what would happen is we would walk into the gym for the 9 a.m. class, or you would get there earlier. Anyways, we would come in for the second class of the day. So there was already a leaderboard started by the time we walked in the gym.
20 names.
And so from the time we were in the gym every single day, what people would walk into the gym, and sometimes they wouldn't, before saying hi to other people, before the first move that a lot of people would start to do is they would go straight to the whiteboard to see what had been accomplished on the leaderboard so far that day. So it became the first measure. Like they would walk in and immediately start sizing up their competition, start sizing up what they needed to accomplish for the day. And then what would happen as people would go in and start to see the scores on the leaderboard, two things would usually happen. There were very few people who were neutral on the leaderboard.
Very few.
Some people are not as affected by it as other people. There's just different personalities and different ways that people take things in and worry about different things. But two things would usually happen. Either one, they would start to see the scores on the leaderboard and you would start to see people like puff up and start to prepare themselves and get ready to rise to the challenge to make sure that they either beat the people that had already given a score, or at the very least they were coming in hot for those people. So you would see like this need to rise up and like you would watch on their faces people get ready, like, I'm going to have to prove myself today. I need to prove myself as a good enough athlete that I could beat so-and-so, or I'm going to come in right on their tails or whatever it is. You'd see that puffing up start to happen, that inflation of a false identity, that need to prove your worth or to prove your value or to prove what kind of an athlete that you are based on the scores that they already saw. So you would see that was one response. I'm not going to lie, just to be very stereotypical, that's usually how the guys would respond to the leaderboard. Guys. And I'm not saying that that's all guys or all women, but what I would do and what I would see women do, or a lot of people will do this, but the other response is you would see people already start to feel defeat. People would either puff up to rise to meet a challenge, or you would see people already deflated, already feeling defeated, and you would hear different language coming out of either one of the two responses. The puffing up people start to like build themselves up. Oh, I got this. I'm gonna do like whatever. But the defeated people were the ones that broke my heart. They're the ones that I identified with more. They would start to tear themselves down. I suck at this workout. There's no way I could ever lift that weight. And you would start to hear the identity coming out of their mouths that I am not good enough. I'm never going to be good enough. I'm never going to be able to compete with these people. And so you would start, that would just be the thing that would start immediately. And we haven't even said good morning or welcome to the class. We haven't even started CrossFit yet. And you've already got this identity language coming out of people. You see it in their posture. You see it in their faces. You see it in their eyes. And it just became such a normal part of every single day.
Every class then for the rest of the day, right?
Yeah.
I think the second thing that's their initial response. But then there was the verbal attacks. The verbal attacks started right away too, where then it became even more negative, and that now there was verbal attacks on people who had worked out already that day. No matter what class you were in, by the last class, they could have a verbal attack on every person who had worked out that day. So there could have been 100 names on that board. And what it was things like, no way they did that workout that fast.
They definitely cheated.
No way they went below parallel on the thrusters. No way you hit their chest to floor on the burpees. No way they actually did 10 rounds. No way. And it was literally just making up reasons why when they did the workout, they weren't going to beat that person because that person already had lied. So just to let you know ahead of time, everyone in the gym, when I don't get a top score, it's because they cheated. Right. And so they're already setting themselves, they're already in this conflict with people that they sometimes never knew.
Don't even know. Yeah,
sometimes they never
even know
knew. They
people.
just knew a name. and like the 6 o'clock class and the 5 a.m. class maybe only saw each other during the open once a year.
Right.
But they knew a name and they knew a score, and they started to inflict, verbal conflict on that person, whether they actually knew them or not.
Right.
And then that would happen too. Sometimes we would leave scores up the night before so 5 a.m. could see it, right? And then that way now there's a perfect circle of verbal assaults flying around the gym 24/7.
Accusations.
Because the scores, I think we would keep them up for 3 days. Remember, there would be like a Monday leaderboard, a Tuesday.
Yeah, we did.
We
do
left
that.
it, and so that everyone could
did.
come in and see that you could see all the scores of the day, and because everyone needed to know. So if you came at 3, you need to know what 6 did. So you need to have it on the whiteboard for the next day, because
this was pre the era where everybody had an app for
we didn't
their
have
scores.
any of the tracking software yet. This was
early
old
on. Yeah.
school, so we just did that. Yeah, and so that was one. Those were the initial
and that again
responses before
that
the
was happening before we even started the warm up.
Yep.
That was
before we
just
even said anything.
that was the culture that was growing.
Yeah.
And it became such a normal part of the day. We kind of didn't know that wasn't great.
Well,
we got to the place where we started to know. Anyways, we'll get to that.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't great, but
the other thing that would happen. So then, once we start the class, now the conflict is really about to take off, because now like people are going to have to go and do the workout and do the work or lift the weight or whatever the thing is, and so what we would see as coaches, we would stand back and watch the workout start to take place, and you would. Always there would be somebody, at least one person in the class, that just would start to cheat. They would start to cut reps. They would cut range of motion, whatever they had to do, because they had a score on the leaderboard that they absolutely needed to beat it, or their life was going to be altered in some way. And so we watched the culture take people into a place, like a mindset, that it was more important to cheat and to shortcut something than it was to get fit. And the reason that people should be coming to a CrossFit, like the reason that we wanted people to get more fit.
Yeah.
But because of what was going on in our culture with the leaderboard, it became more important to do well on a leaderboard than to get more fit or to get better at the sport of CrossFit or to get better at the movements. And so we started to see that take place, that actual cheating and cutting of reps. And it would take place in front of our eyes. And then it would come time at the end of the workout where everybody is supposed to stand and say what their score is. And we would watch people just flat out lie. Yeah. Just make up a score out of thin air because it was so important for their place to be a certain place on the leaderboard. And again, we want to take full ownership of the fact that is a culture that was allowed to grow under us.
Yeah.
And we did get to a place in the old gym before God got a hold of our hearts, before he started to change the way you specifically thought about things. We finally got to a place where we recognized this is not a good and positive thing that is happening inside of our gym. And you really tried to get rid of the leaderboard. You want to talk about that experience? Because it didn't go well.
Yeah. And real quick, I was just thinking like this cheating concept, right, that we saw.
Yeah.
And I tried to stop it sometimes. Like sometimes people we used to say like, you cheated too much. We would have people be like, I'm done. And I'm like, you didn't just do a 15-minute workout in 6 minutes. You need to go do more work. Right. And we tried to hold them accountable.
Right.
But it became almost like whatever kind of a mentality for me. I was like, I'm done. I was tired. And you still see this in the CrossFit at the highest levels. This is so important, right? We saw it this year in the CrossFit Open where someone said they won and they can't prove it. They can't prove, right? And this is a global, like this isn't like, oh, this probably just happened in your gym.
Right.
This happened in a very broad terms this year, and you'll be able to see it all the time that the leaderboard is so important, has so much value that people are willing to just literally make up scores and put them out there for the world to see because it's important for them. Yeah.
Right. And the reality is this is human nature.
Yeah, it is.
This is so we're not saying the leaderboard is bad.
No. It just
we're
saying
saying
it can create
that
these
it
problems.
If we are not actively trying to counter that concept, if we are not actively trying to present a different way of thinking, a different way of doing it, a different way of getting your value and your identity, if we were not intentional about doing that before, we didn't even know to do that. We didn't know that was a thing. And so because of that, human nature can get ugly quickly. And we're going to talk about like in psychology, like psychologically, what is going on in human nature that we saw playing out. But
again, I clicked in my head.
Yeah,
like,
no,
oh my God, like,
it's exactly
this
right.
Year, if you know CrossFit, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to say anything about it.
It's not just us.
It's such a common theme. If you need to get identity from an external leaderboard, you will do anything. Take drugs, cheat, like you will do anything.
Yeah.
I know for sure. We know this.
Yeah.
Anything to show the world who you are.
Right.
And so anyways, but yeah, so what happened was we saw this. It started to get like
the ugliness.
It started to get kind of wild. Like the amount of cheating started to really pick up, and then the crazy making up of scores was wild because that was very hard to counteract. It's very hard to.
We weren't just going to be like, you are a liar.
Where's your time? And we always knew it was a lie when they started with And if it started with I always knew the next thing was a lie.
Right.
And it would always be, they would literally scan the whiteboard and they would just throw the score in like we're throwing a dart into a target that they felt
like
was
I need
appropriate.
to be around 5th place.
Like if I'm in 5th, or like I just need to be kind of in the middle. I can't be the worst. I can't be the best. They'll know I'm lying if I say I'm the best. So I'm 10:05, and they would just say it like that, and I would just be like, "Oh, okay," and I would write it. I can't say. I wasn't gonna be like, "You liar." I wanted to in my heart, and I lied. Anyway. So because of that, I started to pitch the idea of, guys, I would like to get rid of it. Yeah. I would like to get rid of the whiteboard because of what it's kind of doing. And I was met with an absolute no, absolutely not. No way. And it was, now I know the things they were responding to me were straight identity talk. They were saying that basically, if I don't see where I'm at on the whiteboard, I won't basically know who I am. Yes. That's really what they were saying. I don't know who I am.
Yes.
I won't know. Like, it wasn't, they were trying to mask it of like, I won't know how fit I am. And I was like, but you will know how fit you are. Like, if we do Fran and you do it in 2 minutes, you're a games athlete. Like, if you take 10 minutes, you're not. But and that's okay. But they masked it with that. But really the words they were saying were, I won't know who I am.
Right.
In this gym specifically. But in the world, really, they were saying, I wonder who I am.
So we didn't end up getting rid of it because it would have been a mutiny. It would have cost us our gym probably. I think we would have lost
to start over, and we wouldn't have known how to approach it this way.
So thinking about that, like the idea of taking away the leaderboard was like taking away someone's identity. Yeah. So let's say answer this question. Okay. What does it mean when we say, because this is like language that we use now, we say the leaderboard does not give you identity. Yeah. Or if we're saying the opposite of that, like the leaderboard was giving you identity. Yeah. What in the world does that mean? How do you get identity from a leaderboard?
Yeah. So identity, we say identity there's only two sources. We've talked about this before. We will say that your identity comes from God. It's who God knit you to be. It's a blueprint, in his design. So it's very specific, right? It's very specific. But we also say that the world, everything else in the world can give you identity. So when we say
always trying to give you identity.
And again,
the world is always trying to tell us who we are and where our place is.
Yeah. And so you have to receive that identity, right? You receive it from your parents. You receive it from culture. Anywhere you receive identity, it's you agree with something. You're making an agreement with something, and you're saying, "I am that."
Yes, it's an agreement. You say that I am like this, or you say that I am this. I receive it, and I receive it, and I put it on. It's like when we talked about putting on those layers of clothes. You receive it, and you wear it, and you believe that it is true about you, and you live as if that is your identity. Yeah.
So the leaderboard is a source of identity if you want it to be. And even if you don't know it. That's the crazy part is you don't think that you're going to get it. And some people can. I feel like we could probably really train on this and it would take a while to get this. But when those scores start to line up day after day,
Yeah.
and you start to see a pattern of who you are, you start to realize where you stack up out of the 100 names that pop up on that board every day, right? And so what happens is over time, you start to receive something out of that, whether it's positive, meaning, oh, I always end up in the top 10 scores every day. I am a top 10 athlete at this gym.
Yeah.
And that is receiving identity from that leaderboard. You're receiving information and agreeing with it and then claiming it. I am this, or the opposite.
Yeah.
I always end up at the bottom. I am not very good. I am not a CrossFitter. I don't really belong here.
I'm not strong enough.
I'm not strong enough. I'm not this. I'm not that. And it could be across all the different things that were presented. It could just be like some people were always just kind of like, I love just being in the middle, right? That way I don't have to perform, but I'm not the bottom. And they were like, they're the people in life that just love to be mediocre. And they receive that, right? They're just like, I just kind of like to be in the middle. And they start to receive that identity, right? And they're happy there, and they'll strive to stay. They'll actually not even push themselves. They'll strive to be there. And so when we say you receive identity, or it gives you we call it a false identity.
Yeah.
Right? A false identity is just something that you agree with, that you claim as who you are, right? So when I said, hey, I'm going to take the leaderboard away, especially those people that I would say in the top 20%.
Yeah.
It was as if I was taking their identity away from them, because I was going to take away their source of identity, because basically what they're saying was, how will I know who I am if I can't see it every day?
Right.
Like,
how will I know if I measure up?
Yeah.
How will I know if I'm good enough?
Yeah.
How will I know how valuable I am?
Yes, like
and
how will everyone else in the gym know how valuable I am if they don't see my name up there?
Yes.
They won't know who I am.
Yes.
Right? I'll just be so-and-so. And so they won't know that I am top 10 at Paracleo CrossFit, which means a 0 in the world. It doesn't mean actually anything, right? Like it just was this tiny subculture inside this little gym with 150 people. And so that's what we mean. It's giving, you receive it. You say, this is who I am.
Yeah. And you know that something is giving you identity, because if something can be, if you think that your identity can be taken away.
Yes.
That's how you know you were getting identity from the wrong place.
The wrong place, yeah.
And I know that from experience, because in 2020, when our gym closed, and I thought that everything that happened inside the walls of that gym were who I was.
Yep.
The gym gave me identity. Yeah. The community, like the things that I was accomplishing inside of the gym, I would have said, that is who I am. I am a coach. I am successful at weight loss. I am somebody who helps other people lose weight. And those were not even negative identities. But when the gym was closed and that outlet for doing something like that, my job basically was taken away, I felt like my identity had been taken away. Yeah. So anything that can be taken away and you think that that's taking your identity away, that's how you know that you are getting identity from a false source. Yeah. Because your true identity can never, ever be taken away. You take your true identity into every job, into every place, into everywhere you step your feet, every vocation, everything that you will ever do, your true identity goes with you. It can never be diminished. It can never be taken away. And so that's why it's so important to us. That's why it's our mission, our goal is to speak identity and to give people the way to know their true identity, their true value, their true worth, because that can never be taken away. But a leaderboard is one of the ways, like it's just one of those loud things inside of a CrossFit gym that is just shouting identity at people.
It is.
And it can be very positive and it can be incredibly negative. And and
I would even say that even in the positive, it's negative because it's still a false identity, right? And again, when I want to go back and say, like, when we say the word false identity, we're not saying bad.
Right. We're not saying that people saying it's morally believe this are bad people.
Yeah, like if you're like, I am a top 10 CrossFit athlete in my gym. okay, number one, no, you're not. That's not an identity.
Right.
But we're not saying it's a bad thing. You're not like morally corrupt. We're just saying it's not true.
It's just not who you are.
It's just not who you are, because like
it's not
what you
who
said,
you are. It's a thing that you accomplish. It's a thing you do and it's
great.
It's awesome. It can be used for God's glory.
Yes, 100%.
But that's not what we saw happening in the gym. Yeah.
Yeah, and like you said, it can anything, and this goes across, all of the world. Your car, your house, your job, your business that you own, your wife, like anything, if it's taken away, it could be sad, but it's not taking away who you are, right? Because what we know is that we believe, and what we know is that you will take your identity into the kingdom, when you can die and you still have your identity,
right?
Like God's named you. It says your name is written in heaven, and it's your identity will go on forever, right? So it's not like, if you were to die and you pop up to heaven and she's like, oh, top 10 CrossFit athlete in Paraclinical CrossFit, I was waiting for you, right? That's not your identity. I promise you that's not what he wrote down, when he created you 10,000 million years ago, right? That's not it. I promise you. But yeah, I did the same thing too with, I hurt my shoulder and all of a sudden you're like, but I'm a CrossFit competitor.
Right.
How can I be that?
That was taken away, right?
And so now you have an identity, and we see this in that scene so often. Oh, I am a competitor. I am this. No, you just do that. But that's not who you are. So anyways, yes, that's the false identity that we would speak to. And anytime we ever say the word, this is always what we're saying. Anything that gives you identity is something you agree with. It's naming you and you're saying, yes, I like that. I would like to be that. It's false.
Right. And our mission, our goal, our purpose is that we want to point people to the one and only source of identity, and that is God. That is the one that created you. He created you with value. There's nothing that you need to accomplish. There's nothing else that is going to change or make better or worse the person that you are created to be. Yeah. And so we want to talk through, if we got rid of the leaderboard, that's not what we're doing anymore. We wouldn't have been able to explain it when it was happening in the old gym, what was happening like psychologically. Why did it stir up so much conflict? Like, why was there such a like nasty culture environment, like ugliness amongst people, between people who were also at the same time saying like, oh, we're in a community together, but I will cut you.
Yeah.
I will cut you if it means I beat you on a leaderboard. Like, why was it stirring up such negative things?
Yeah.
And so let's talk about that, because there is like the psychology of why this happens, and it happens in every area of life. It's not just in a competitive like sports setting when you're competing, like actually competing for a leaderboard. It happens in business. It happens everywhere you look.
Yes.
But let's talk about what is going on that is making this culture grow into something ugly.
Yeah. Well, first of all, we'll have to start with, again, going back, we've done this before. There's just two worldviews, right? There's a separation worldview and a connected worldview. I'm not going to dive into all of that, but this whole thing comes out of a separation worldview, right? So the premise is, to start with, is that you're operating in a worldview that's centered around the idea of scarcity, right? So that there's not enough.
There
right?
is not enough.
You're not enough, and God's not enough. So we have to start with that first primary core belief that that person's walking into the gym with, or they're walking into their business with, or their life with.
Right.
When you operate in that worldview and then that belief that you are not enough, and there is not enough, and therefore God is not enough. If that is your primary worldview, and again, you can be a Christian and believe in God and all of the things, but if you don't realize that you're operating in that worldview, I would, there's a lot of, go back and listen to what we talked about, and like you need, there's a way through that. But if you're operating in that worldview, and we believe that most people are, that's 99% of the world. That
is the natural way to see the world.
And the world says that. If you turn on the news or listen, it's, there's not enough, you're not enough, you need this. And ultimately, that always says that God's not really truly who he says he is. You can't believe him or trust him, right? You can't actually believe what the Bible says, because
because there's not enough for you, and you are not.
So you walk in on that premise, and so what happens is in that worldview, because of that, The first idea is this idea of comparison. Because if there's not enough, the first thing I need to do is start comparing myself around to everyone. So in the CrossFit gym, that's the leaderboard.
Right.
I actually have a visual comparison of myself to all the other people in the gym. So this idea of comparison, again, because I'm looking for where do I stack up in this world, there's not enough. I need to find out how I get more. I just need to find out what's going on in the world. So comparison is this looking, and the leaderboard just says, hey, you're looking, here's the information.
Yeah.
I got it for you right here.
This is how you compare to every other person that walks inside of this gym.
In this random workout we did on Tuesday, here's where you stack up out of 100 people, right? And there's this very simple, you can compare yourself like that. It's so easy.
And it doesn't feel like you're doing something crazy.
No.
It doesn't feel like something like it's not morally wrong.
No, it's not wrong.
To go and look there was an event and I will see here
where I stack up.
And there
and I would say that even, in that moment, and you think back to it, there is an emotion that comes every time that leaderboard is looked at. There is something that pops inside you, whether it's positive or negative or anywhere in the middle of that, right? There is intrinsically, and if you don't, even now, it's so hard not to have that weird feeling, right? Of
because it is.
I just did the CrossFit games and it's still hard.
It is giving you value.
It's trying to so hard.
It wants to say to you, you did enough.
Yes.
You are good enough.
Yes.
Therefore, you're going to get a good hit of emotion.
I'm so good.
Yes. Yeah. Or you did not do
lacking.
Enough. Yeah. You are not enough in this situation, which will give you that negative.
100%.
And it's human to
and
have that
we're
response. We're not saying you can't have that response.
No, because even in a connected worldview, when you put yourself in a place where there's just an automatic comparison, my nervous system is still always going to trigger that way, right? It's just a human nature thing.
Yeah.
The difference is what you do with that.
Comparison, there's that saying, comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah.
It's just, it makes you have some sense of value.
There's a reaction.
Yes.
Yeah. And again, so now it's what do I do with that?
Yeah.
Right? And this is where we start to learn, we have control, in this situation. But no matter what, so I'm in this separation worldview, I'm not believing there's enough, so I start comparing myself. That's going to happen intrinsically. So because of that, we know that what comparison leads to is this idea of competition.
Right.
And we're going to elaborate more on that word, in that there's two different
because we're not
venues
saying,
of it.
We work and we live in a sport. This is what we do for a living.
Play the sport.
Yeah,
for fun.
Yes, and we have both of us grew up as athletes. We love sports.
Yeah.
So we'll get to it, but we're not saying
don't play sports.
Don't compete in a sport. That's not what we're saying. We're talking about competing in a different way. Explain what you mean.
So if I'm comparing myself to others, so I start to see where I stack up. And so what happens is I start to then find the people now that I am in competition with. So in the CrossFit gym, it's the competition is for where you want to be on that leaderboard, right? If it's the top, if it's the middle, if it's just not the bottom.
Right.
You find that now whoever those names are become your competition, right? It's and in essence, it's your enemies. It really becomes your enemies.
I know that sounds deep
sounds
and
horrible,
philosophical.
But it kind of is. You
but
might be
psychologically speaking, the way that you are going to respond is as if you have, as if they are your enemy. As if we are at war.
Yes, we're at war. We're in it now, and we're going to lead to that word. Yeah. So comparison leads to competition, right? And this is just normal. Businesses, countries.
This happened in the grocery store during COVID.
Yeah,
I look in their cart and they have the toilet paper and I don't have the toilet paper.
20 of them.
They are. I compared. You have more than I do. Now I need to compete with you for resources.
I would like to fight you.
Yes. Anyways,
yeah, exactly. So and that's everything. That's not
business. Just a CrossFit thing. This is. Again, this is psychologically how we
and this is everything
function. This is the world we live in.
Yeah, this is the world system that we live in, and we have to try to operate in. Yes. We don't want to we don't want to be stuck in it, but we do have to navigate it, I guess.
Yes, because this is what is going on in every arena of life.
So again, our goal here is that like, if you are in a gym at the leaderboard, this is hopefully what you would do is learn to recognize this and say, okay, how do I navigate a system that has this leaderboard in it? Because I do believe you can navigate it.
I do think so too.
Yeah. But we just don't, because it's way easier. Not easier, but just we can just drive home what we want.
Yeah. Anyways, let's keep going.
Anyway, so you have competition. Again, the competition means that I am competing against you for value in the gym. Yes. I want to be top dog or middle dog, or I just don't want to be the bottom dog. Whatever I need to do, you and I are engaged in competition. Whether you are or not, I am with you, right? And that was, we talked about in my story, how I literally created faith competitions with anyone and I could to beat them, because in my mind they were trying to take something that was mine.
If they were higher on the leaderboard than you, then they had taken that place from you.
Even if they tried to.
Right.
And especially if they cheated or were doing anything at all to elevate, I was immediately in competition with them. So then the next natural occurrence then is it goes compare, compete, conflict, right? That's just the natural progression of life. If I compare myself, I find my competition, I'm going to compete with you. And the only outcome then, if I'm in that frame of mind, is to now I'm in conflict with you. I am engaged in conflict with you, whether I know you or not, whether I know you, whether I've ever even seen you. That person at 5 a.m. or 6 p.m. or whatever it is that I've targeted is now I'm in conflict with you. I'm in direct, like I am actually in conflict with you, right? And this is natural. And the problem is, it's not because of what they did. It's because of the value that you're getting from that leaderboard, right?
Right. It's because of what's going on inside of you.
You have a conflict in your soul.
Right.
Right? Because you're living in conflict, because you're living in a worldview of separation and you already don't believe you're enough. And so this internal belief that there's not enough and you're not enough, because you don't truly know who you are. You're getting identity from this leaderboard. So
it's very important that you get where you want to be on the leaderboard, because then that will make your identity secure.
Yes, you will. That's it. You need that false identity from the leaderboard, because you don't
tell you who you are,
because you don't know who you are.
Exactly.
And so
internal conflict is a lack of knowing who you are.
Yeah. And so what we know, is in Bible, it says this very specifically, right? James 4:1 summarizes, says, like, don't you know that the external conflict in your life is because of the internal conflict inside of you, right? Yeah. It's not their fault. It's not something someone's doing against you. It's because you are at conflict. You are at war in your soul.
Yeah.
And so if you're at war in your soul, you're just going to spew external conflict, right? And this is the world that we live in, is external conflict, because everyone is in internal conflict. So when we pull all that down from a global scale to a tiny little gym,
right?
It makes sense when we watch it play out now what was happening. It now is like, of course there was external conflict.
Of course there was nastiness amongst our members, and like you would know, like the scripture says, like you will know what's in a person's heart by what is coming out of their mouth. Yeah. And the things that were coming out of people's mouths against other people, tearing themselves down, that is all rooted out of a lack of knowing the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny because some of it is, we've talked about this, I believe, and I think I'm going to go big on this one day, talking about anger and contempt, but
I think that's our next podcast.
It might be. Yeah. I've got a lot of work that I want to put into it. But especially with guys, and I've spoken this before, that conflict is disguised as bro talk.
Yep.
This anger, and it's actually rooted in anger, I think, with a lot of guys. It was with me. This anger and this false identity and this thing inside, this false identity, is often disguised as like sarcastic bro talk. Mm-hmm. And what they're actually throwing is daggers at you. They are throwing straight conflict your way, but it's disguised as this bro talk, and it's
like it's funny,
like ha ha ha. It's like yes, like and I and I always receive bro talk as conflict.
Yes, you always said.
I was always like, oh, you want to talk to me that way? I'm coming back at you with more force than you can imagine.
Yeah.
I'm not playing games here. And that was one of my motivations was like, but I know for sure that this false identity and it's anger and it's, so even the friendly banter was a false identity throwing itself up at others, right? It was because if I can't be at top, then I'm going to have to sarcastically talk to you because I don't really know how to operate in this way, because it's like, I don't know what to do because my insides are thrashed. So I can't really be at conflict with you because we're friends, kind of. So I'm just going to kind of like throw this one thing out at you because it's going to make me feel better.
Yeah.
I get to throw conflict your way. You might receive it. You might throw it back at me. We're going to be in like kind of this friendly war.
Right.
And we're kind of going to be friends, but we're actually also like super wild rant, you know, and so it's, that also exists. And and that would exist for years.
Yeah.
As this like weird friend conflict, I guess. I don't know how to put it, but that is a true thing that happens.
But I don't even think that's weird. I think that's so normal.
Especially in guys.
I think that has been so normalized.
It is.
Like you said, like it's almost like a throwing up of false identity.
It is. It's just
and a throwing out of like, I don't know what else to do other than I'm going to just do this thing and I'm going to make it sound like a joke, but I'm trying to hurt you because that's the only way I can get at you, because I can't get you on the scoreboard.
And I'm going to go into it more, but like, yes, there's a lot, I think, in that. If just even like nicknames people throw at each other, or just anything that you can say to just kind of attack somebody is a form of conflict, because inside of you, you're just not comfortable with who you are, right? Anyway. So I don't even know where we were. I think we were. I do know.
We're in conflict.
Where were we? We're in conflict. Yeah.
We're in conflict.
Yeah. So for sure, that can happen. Again, we're not saying it all. I am saying that if you live in a false identity in a separation worldview and you start to compare and compete, and conflict will happen. I don't think there's any way around it. That just is life.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no other source of anything else to come out of you. Again, we talk all the time about fruit.
Yeah.
The fruit of what is coming out of a person, the fruit that was coming out of our culture was bad fruit.
Yeah.
We had bad fruit coming out, and you hear it in the way people speak. You see it in the way people act. That is the fruit. That was the fruit of our culture. It was bad fruit that we allowed to grow.
I will keep going back to and that's my fault.
Yes, I just said we allowed that to grow.
I actually kind of grew it early on.
We were actively,
and I was actively in it,
yeah,
and like especially in the leaderboard and trying to be at the top, and especially me
and getting identity from winning, getting identity from all of those
beating everybody,
things. Yeah,
and again you go proving everyone wrong always.
That's like your only source.
It was a source. So so this is not anyone's fault, but mostly mine, I would say, for sure. So but now we can put words to it and see how devastating it was to people. And
because
even people that didn't know
it was devastating to people.
Yes, it was. And even I would say people I would say a lot of people in our gym don't even realize it was happening. And I still would say they got negative reaction. They still were receiving a false identity.
Yes, I think that it was actually such a typical environment in a sports, in a competitive environment. I think that what we're saying, what we're explaining, and what we experience in the old gym, I actually think is a very normal sports world environment.
Yeah.
We just know now that that actually hurts people. It doesn't build anyone up. It doesn't help people. It actually is just magnifying and multiplying hurt and conflict inside of other people in a place that we said was supposed to be a place to come and get stronger and better and be a better version of yourself and all of that. What was actually happening was tearing people down.
Yeah. And I think what we
whether you were doing it to yourself or you were doing it to somebody else or somebody was doing it to you, no matter what, people were being torn down.
And you were just in the atmosphere of it.
Yes.
You're just in the presence of it, and that's still not healthy. Right? I think we said one of our very first podcasts was the difference between a Christian business and a kingdom business. Is a Christian business is a business owned by Christians. That was our old business. Yeah. We were Christians and it was not doing anything. And a kingdom business is a business that brings healing. Yeah. And that's our mission now, right? Like we're trying to bring healing. We don't even want there to be the atmosphere of this going on because there's no healing that can take place in a war.
Right.
No one's being healed in a war.
Yes.
There's only warfare and triage.
There's triage kind of, but there's still just a constant
Just
flow
a
of
constant
people
battle,
coming in
just-
with wounds.
Yeah, just
And wounds are being created.
yes,
Yeah.
and so that's why again, that's kind of just always reframing. I think why we're doing it, and we're not saying it's good or bad, just why we're doing it,
Right.
what we experience, and what we're trying to do now.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that I don't know if we want to talk about like the difference between like what would it look like then to say, I think that we can compete in a sport.
We can.
Like we're not in any way saying that competing as an athlete or competing in a sport. In fact, like I truly believe your identity, your design, like you are an athlete. And I think that your greatest expression of who God made you to be is when you are competing in the sport of CrossFit or in whatever sport you've ever played in throughout your life. You are genuinely designed as a competitor. So it's not that you can't compete, but let's talk about what we were saying before is how do you know if you're competing in a sport, like in a pure sense of like out of a true identity competing versus competing against someone in a way that will lead to conflict and taking someone else down in a way that will end up hurting you and hurting them? There's a very big difference, and you will know which one you're in based on the fruit of what is coming out of you as you're participating in that competing.
Yeah. I think you actually said it. It's if you are intrinsically kind of competing against someone in particular, especially in CrossFit, because CrossFit, you really can't even compete against anybody, right? I don't have the ability to play defense on you.
Right.
It's not basketball where I can like get my forearm up in you and we can get physical. It's not football. I don't get to tackle you. It's very unique in that like, we're all on the floor together, but none of us can stop each other.
Right.
Yet. I talk about it, but not yet. It's ever happened. But in my mind, I can be competing against you. And what that means is that like I have your face, something about you is motivating me to beat you. Like I am purposely just firing at you in a way where I just want to make sure that I stand on top of you, that I beat you, that no matter what happens, my outcome is better than your outcome, which is wild in CrossFit because I can't stop you.
But you could literally be anyone,
yes.
and you would say the same thing in whatever business.
Yeah.
As long as I come up on top,
yes,
then
I'm happy.
That's
and it has
the
to be
driving
the top
force
or whatever.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yes. That's how you know that you're competing against.
Yeah, and that's how I competed most of my life. Right?
Yes.
And I talked about that before. Like, I actually had to sometimes make up scenarios where I had to compete again. Like, I needed someone to be mad at and use anger as the fuel to face that person and compete against them or prove that person wrong. Even if I wasn't competing against them, I was competing against someone back home. So there's this intrinsic, like my energy is not actually going towards, for CrossFit, the expression of my fitness. It's going towards somebody or a group of people that I am just
leaderboard
where I am trying to prove something with an outcome. Like there's some sort of outcome. There's an outcome as the goal, and that outcome will decide whether I was successful or not.
Yep.
That outcome will determine if I competed enough, right? If I win or I beat the person that I wanted to beat, then I was successful, right? And it's all so it's very intrinsic. It's super nuanced. I talk about this all the time. Like it's very hard. It's really an internal process of what's motivating you. I believe it's like this motivation factor.
Yeah. And what the result, like the effect that the result has on you will also tell you
will, for sure,
whether or not you were competing for the pure sake of competition is who you are, and it's a joy and like a love for the sport, or if a negative outcome, or like being like, if that gives you value, if you are disappointed in yourself, if you are worried that others are disappointed in you, if you are getting negative self-value from a bad outcome, or if you are getting positive self-value from a good outcome, if the outcome has anything to do with the way you feel about yourself, that's a sign that you are competing against someone. You are competing in a false identity. You're in a different mindset.
It's that external thing is giving it to you. The leaderboard, the result, the podium placement, whatever it is, if that's taken away and you're unhappy, so yeah, and it's very intrinsic. Whereas the opposite,
I was going to say, what is it? Oh, go ahead.
Well, I would say also it's very easy that it doesn't bring glory to God, right? It does not point anyone to God if you're just like, I'm going to kill them. I'm just going to beat that person, or I'm just going to prove them wrong, right? No one's looking at like, that dude must love God. He's a follower of Jesus, right? Like that just doesn't, it's just like super kind of easy to see, right? Like there's no fruit at all that says anything about you.
Right.
Other than, man, they're mad or they're angry or they're not happy,
Right. So then what would it look like to compete like in your true identity with like if you feel like God has made you to be someone who competes in sport, which I truly believe that about you, what does that look like? What is the fruit of that? What's coming out of you? What is like, or any athlete, not just you specifically.
I think that's something I've walked through a little bit, but
and only recently. I was going to say only you like in self-reflection can know whether you're doing this or not. And that for everybody, like this is a very
this is
self-reflective
there's no formula.
thing. There's not like a test you can, but if you were reflecting and what would,
definitely
what would it
not
look
a formula.
like to be?
I really think it comes back to this motivation. Like, what is your fuel? I always say the word fuel a lot. I think motivation is kind of another word for it. Like when I train, number one, like I used to train and I had like people that I wanted to beat or prove wrong. And that was in my mind when it got hard or when I didn't want to train, right? Or at the competition. I had those things as my thought that was like, this is the reason. Whereas the opposite now would be, again, we've talked about this idea that I wasn't even sure if I could compete anymore. But then it was like, talking to God or working it through it, you realize like, okay, God, like you did make me this way. I have these physical capabilities. It's always been that way since the time I can remember. So that's true. I have athletic capabilities.
Yeah.
Especially in the sport of CrossFit.
Yeah.
And I don't take that for granted. And then, okay, who am I? Okay, you've named me. I'm a rebel leader, a vanguard against the patterns of this world. Okay, so what does that look like? Well, I love training. I love CrossFit. I love lifting weights and running. And I love it. I love all of it. I've loved playing all the sports. So I'm going to do that to the best of my ability. I'm going to go hard and just the joy of that training because no matter what, I love it. Right? I love competing. I love getting on that floor against the best in the world. It is one of the most fun things that you can do. Like when you can line up with a bunch of guys and you just throw down, it is the adrenaline and the feeling it's so fun. Like it's just fun. Like if you can release all the other stuff, like when you're just competing and it's like there's this joy, there's this fun to it. It's nervous. We talked about the emotions I went through. There's sadness when things don't go right, but there's still a peace. And again, like you said, it's like a self-reflection, really. Like, what am I thinking and what's driving me? And then I think that the biggest thing is after the fact or in the middle of the fact is what was the fruit of it? And we saw God work. We saw people like, again, I don't really understand it all. I'm not going to pretend to say like I understand it at all, actually, but God used, especially this last CrossFit Games, to bring him, like he got the glory.
Yeah.
People back home saw it. Just when I got back, they were just like, it was all God's glory. It wasn't about me. It wasn't about the outcome. It was like somehow through persevering, through them watching me train, through me using what I have to pour into them, right? I used to not to. I became very selfish. I trained, I guarded, I protected. And then when you take the thing God's given you and you pour into others with it, and then the thing that I got to pour into others with, they get to watch me do, I believe there's this like power in that where I don't know how it worked, but it was like a testimony thing, right? So I think if the outcome is bringing God glory, you also kind of have this idea that you're operating in a sport that you are welcome. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah. It is all about that. What is coming out of your heart? That's what fruit is. Like, that's what we're talking about. And for us, bringing it back to the leaderboard. And when we say we're doing the CrossFit gym differently, we've been reopened now for 2 years and we have not ever had a leaderboard. We can talk about, but we do have a tracking system. People write things down. We're not completely living outside of, fitness. We want to know how much weight we all lift. We want to know, our benchmark workouts, like all the things. We track things, we write things down. We want to make sure our members are growing and changing and seeing positive things in their physical capabilities. So it's not that we're completely blind and don't care at all. And like, who cares if anybody's getting more fit? No, we love fitness and we love CrossFit, and you program, like you just pour your heart and soul into programming, and you are always checking and making sure that it's working. So it's not like we never look at a result or want, like we absolutely want to get better. We want to get fitter. We want to be healthier, stronger. And we want that for all of our members. And so we are doing full CrossFit in here. We're not doing a fake version of it or a lesser version by any means. We just aren't having that leaderboard. And we've seen now, because of not having that, we have 2 years now of watching what fruit is growing and of seeing what's happening in our culture. And there are some things that have happened, like, of course, also just being more intentional about our culture and what we wanted to build, to allow to grow in here. We have an amazing culture now. It's a very positive and uplifting culture. There are things, the cool thing about a culture is once it starts to grow, we don't have to be so on top of it anymore. Our members are such an active part of keeping our culture healthy and keeping it a safe and positive and uplifting place. So we aren't having to fight the weeds. Our members help us fight the weed. Like culture will do amazing things once it takes hold. It doesn't allow for bro talk to grow. Like people that have come in our doors with bro talk, they learn very quickly that it does not flourish here. Yeah. It doesn't. Nobody responds to it. Nobody says it back to you. Like it's culture will determine that doesn't thrive here. And that's an amazing thing to see. So different things are growing, different things are coming out. So I wanted to talk about what we are seeing now that we have been so intentional about taking away the idea that what happens in a score on your day, your workout of the day, like that score for that day, taking out the idea that has any value or gives you any worth. What are we seeing growing? Like what is growing in here?
Yeah, a lot. And I would preface it to say that when we opened, this was the one thing I thought would keep people from the gym. Yeah. I literally said, like, okay, because of the response I got, I was worried that no one would even sign up the moment they found out we weren't tracking. Because it was that important. But, again, God likes to prove God's ways are his ways. And so when he says do it differently, he's gonna bring the right people in. But it's kind of funny because even along with that, I figured, okay, when I do the leaderboard, like we probably just won't have people who are competitive like or just athletic. Trying to be athletic. They're just, we're just going to have we're just going to be super fun. We're going to do CrossFit. It's going to be functional movement. We do some high intensity. We're really just going to have a good time. And it's just going to, and I'm okay. And I kind of was like, okay, God, I'm okay with that. Like I love the high level stuff. I love competing and I was okay with that. But what happens is slowly over these 2 years, the culture, that culture has stayed the same. Meaning our culture of lifting each other up, not tearing each other down, has stayed the same. And then the fitness has just gone straight up on a line as far as the striving for, I would say, not the striving for learning CrossFit as a sport.
Yeah.
That, it's not being competitive. It's just CrossFit offers all of these things and I can learn all of them and I can learn to do them better and faster and I can combine them. And there's competitions I can go to and I can express this fitness in that way. And that has just been on a steady incline, just very slowly, a steep line going up. And so what we've seen is, right now we're a week away from going to Wadapalooza in Southern California, and we have 19 people going to compete, in a competition that is more than we've ever sent in 12 years of a gym. That's the most we've ever had go at one time to play the sport of CrossFit with absolute, obviously they're nervous. There's a lot of people
There's
who've
a lot
never
of
stepped
nervous
in a
energy in our gym right now.
They've done the open, and that's nothing. So there's a lot of nerves, and that's normal. There's a lot of anxiety. That's normal. But there's also a freedom that they don't care about the final outcome. They do not care.
We've been talking together and reflecting, like, why do you think it is? Like, what do you think is going on that we have more athletes who want to go out and compete in the sport of CrossFit without a leaderboard than we ever had with? And I think that we've both agreed that what has happened inside of our gym, and not because we're so smart or anything, it's just because
was not on purpose.
This was this is what we felt like was important to teach people. But I feel like we have, like, our community is not tied to results because we don't value results inside of this gym. We don't care at all what your result is. We care about that you, like you said, that you are having the best hour of your day, that you are coming in here and you feel like you are being built up, and emotionally and mentally and spiritually, like you're being built up, but also physically. And so because what we value in this gym is just that you would come in here and be others focused, and you would pour your energy into other people. All of our members, like we tell our members, what is valuable to us is that we come in here and we are others focused, which means don't worry about what you are going to get today. Let's see how much we can lift up the people around us today. And if everybody in this class is focusing on making sure that everybody around them is being built up, then that means you are building up 19 other people, but you have 19 people who are trying to build you up. Yeah. And that is a powerful amount of people to have behind you, pushing you, excited for you when you do lift more weight and when you are going as fast as you can. So we value that pouring into each other. And because of that, people just are enjoying the sport. They're enjoying CrossFit as a expression of fitness. They're enjoying how much stronger they feel. They enjoy each other and doing it together in a way that we never saw in the other gym. Again, because that was our fault. Yeah. But because we've been so intentional about it, and so because our members just have fallen in love with CrossFit and they've wanted to get better at it because it brings them so much joy, and because they're doing it with a community of people that also have so much joy, and they've never worried about a result, they've never worried about where they land on a leaderboard. I truly believe that is what has made these people so willing to go out onto a massive stage and just go out because they just love the sport of CrossFit. Yeah. Nobody in our gym has said one word about the result of Wodapalooza. It's not even a language that they speak, because it's not a language that we speak. Yeah. And so nobody is going in with a result in mind, with a desire for a specific result. Everybody is going in. We have matching shirts and we have matching hats, and we have 60 or 70 people from our gym that are all traveling down and staying with us. And we are coming in as this massive force of people who just are loving the sport. But it's the fact that we have a group of people that do not consider the outcome something that they need to worry about. It has freed them up to just be willing to go out and enjoy the thing as a group. It's the most unexpected thing we never saw this coming. No. We never saw more competitors coming out of our gym than we ever had before. Yeah. And I truly believe it is because we have decoupled them from a leaderboard, from a result.
100%. And then we didn't plan it. This was not a planned outcome that we expected. I wasn't like, what we do? If we do this, they're all going to want to compete. I really thought the opposite would happen.
Yeah, nobody would ever compete, because why would they? If it's not about a leaderboard, then why would anybody want to go do the sport of CrossFit? It turns out if you just teach people to love each other and to love having fun together and to love pushing your body and doing the thing that you love to
Have
do
fun
at
doing
the,
it. You
at
come
the
a
high,
lot.
and they
Yeah.
train hard. Like
Yeah.
it's not like
No,
we're not doing like a lesser version of CrossFit.
No,
Like
no.
these are not all like RX athletes, but these are athletes who are putting in the work because they are enjoying putting
Yeah.
in the work, and they're going to go out and express their fitness at the highest level that they can. Hopefully enjoy with a lot of nerves for sure.
So yeah, but that's different. That's normal.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's and I think what you said is true. It's that what we've learned is when you take away the leaderboard or you decouple results, this is all they know every day is that they can just go hard, be free, fail like crazy. Make a million,
push to your limits.
Because if you push to the limit and you don't do good that day, it doesn't matter because you don't have a leaderboard to stack up to, right? And so, like one thing that kind of one of the things that what I think is happening is we're seeing our fitness increase in our gym so much. Is what I have seen is that when you have a leaderboard, also what happens is you start to you're only willing to push as far as you need to find your place on the leaderboard. So if I just want to be, the 10th best person in the gym, I find that place of fitness, and that's as far as I actually have to push.
Yeah.
And I actually put a limit on myself. Or if I'm always at the bottom, I just accept that and I put a limit on myself, right?
Or if you're literally always at the very top.
Yeah, why would I try harder?
I don't need to try harder.
I don't need to go.
I'm already the winner.
I don't have to like push to a place because and this happens in the sport, and that's okay, right? If you're in first place,
yes, like in a live competition,
you look around and you're like, okay,
I don't need to sprint.
Yeah,
I can just like cruise the finish.
I'm gonna gear down because I need to save it for the next workout.
Right.
And so what happens is I believe that happens in the gym setting every day.
Every day, and it begins to become
so every day, everyone's actually gearing down in the workout, right? Or cheating, or so what they're doing is when you gear down or you start to gameplay your workout every day, you actually can't improve your fitness, right? But when you're free to just be like, what if you fail today?
Yeah.
What if on this set of toes to bar, I want you just to hang on for as many as you can. And the result is going to be that you're not going to do well in the workout because I'm going to push you into a place.
You're going to completely blow up.
You're going to blow up and you might have to do singles for the next 6 minutes, right? And not every day, right? But like, let's try new things. Let's fail along the way. But every time that we fail, we're going to be failing up. We're not holding back. And so that, I believe, is why we see what we're seeing. Yeah. Increased fitness, increased participation. I mean, we got people signing up for everything right now. Like
it's wild.
If there's fitness involved, they're signing up, right? They're
we had
Deca-Fit, High Rocks.
I was gonna say we had everybody fighting to try to get the High Rocks tickets.
It's just like wild what's going on. And I do think that the culture, the camaraderie, the friendships, knowing they're gonna go together is massive. And then the freedom. That they do not care about what happens. They know that no matter what, on Sunday at Wodapalooza, we're all going to smile, give each other high fives. If one team stands on the podium, it will mean nothing. It will mean nothing to a team that comes in last place.
Right.
It won't matter. Right. At least it won't matter. It won't matter to us at all. Like I don't think it'll matter to the gym.
It doesn't matter to our gym community.
And on Monday morning, we'll come back in and we'll keep doing CrossFit, right? Yeah. And we'll keep doing it together. And that freedom for us is the path that we're trying to lead people down. Is that we believe that CrossFit there's a freedom in life when you don't live in comparison, competition, and conflict. There's a freedom.
And the reason that matters is because this is just CrossFit.
Yeah.
But what if you could live your life?
Yeah.
What if you felt that free to do the thing that God has put on your heart to do?
Yep.
Like, what if you feel like God is calling you to do something, to step out, to go out and maybe whatever it is, write a book or start a business or whatever, like whatever the thing is God is putting in your heart to do. For us recently, it was start a podcast. Like it was just something that like we just knew was like this thing that God had for us to do. Like he just kept coming up, like do a podcast. if we had been so worried about the results, or what if we sound stupid, or what if people think we're dumb, or what if nobody listens, or what if we put it out there and people argue with us that we're wrong, or whatever it is, a million things can hold you back. Just worrying about where you land on a leaderboard can hold you back. If we could learn to live in freedom, to know the truth of who we are, to know that God has made us to do something, and then he's put that desire in our heart to go do it. If we could decouple ourselves from whatever results might happen, if you open the business and it fails, or whatever, there's a million different outcomes. But if we could be free enough in our true identity, in something that really matters, and go out and do it. That's what we're experiencing inside the gym when it comes to CrossFit and the sport of CrossFit and fitness and growth. If we would live our actual lives that way, that's what we think is the most powerful thing. And that was our whole reason for reopening the gym. That's the reason we do this podcast, is that we want to show people that if you know who you are, if you don't get your value from any other thing, if you would just stand in the value, like as the person that God created you to be, and you would know that no matter what happened, whether you succeeded or failed, whether you went all in and it lasted for 10 years, or you went all in and it lasted for 10 months, whatever it is, whatever time, whatever opportunity you have to live out what God made you to do, if you would do that freely, the way that our athletes are attacking the sport of CrossFit, think of what this world could experience because of the gifts and the joy that we would bring into the world. That is why we are talking about what we're talking about.
Yeah, that's it. And I think that's CrossFit gyms in a nutshell. Is we always say everything we do in here is to help in the real world. We do hard things in the gym so you can do hard things in the real world. Everything that we do, the goal of just CrossFit in general, I believe, is to do hard things in the real world. So the thing that we want to build up, the culture that we want to build in here, that freedom in here, is so that you can have freedom out there.
Yeah.